Yahushua Israelites, Genesis Israelites, deacon priest Hakah rebukes Paul for teaching against God and against the Torah. Let's listen.
And you're going to that. Moreover, the Father told you not to do it in the Torah and prophets, and you're going against that. Verse 10. Verse 10 to me is the worst verse in the Bible when it comes to going against the Father from an apostle, from someone righteous. Going against the Father, the other apostles, Christ himself. He says, for if any man see you, which has knowledge, sit at meat in the idol's temple. If anyone sees you in an idol's temple, this is the hypothetical, but this is the norm here in Corinth. They had 9 temples to gods where they did the food sacrifice to idols. All the meats in the market were sacrificed to idols. We're not talking about today. We're talking about 2,000 years ago. The temple of Poseidon and all these other Greek deities and Roman deities. Those temples. Knowingly going in there. I'm not talking about, Christmas and Thanksgiving, which some Israelites say that that's eating food sacrificed to idols. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about 2,000 years ago when Paul is writing this. He's saying that if people see you in an idol's temple, this idol could be of course, these idols have demons attached to them, ontological wicked entities attached to them. Why is it okay for us to go in the temple? Now, and he says, in the temple, you're sitting at meat in the temple. That means you're eating the food sacrificed to that deity in that temple. He's not going to say that that's wrong that you do that. This could be Satan's temple. If anybody sees you in Satan's temple, if anybody sees you in Kamash's temple, if anybody sees you in the temple of Molech, if anybody sees you in an actual demon's temple, eating that food that was sacrificed to that god, this is the part of the ritual. In antiquity, at the temple of Poseidon and all these other temples in Corinth, when you went in there, you had to take your shoes off. You had to purify yourself. You had to go through idolatrous rituals to even go in there. You couldn't just go in there with Air Force Ones and a snapback on, with a blunt in your mouth, with a cigarette in your ear. You had to abide by the rules of that temple. So you're doing all kind of idolatry before you even get in there. Then you sit at the feast. That's what it means, sit at meat. You sit at the feast in there, observing them, kill the animal, sacrifice it to their God, do the rituals with them, and then eat the meat. This is what Paul is saying when he says you're going into a temple and you're sitting at meat. That's the festivals inside the temple. Every theologian would agree with this. This is just a fact.
Most Christians would agree with my interpretation of St. Paul when he says eating meat sacrificed to an idol is nothing because idols are nothing because there's only one God, but you don't have to worry because you have freedom in Christ to do that. Just don't let anybody else see you, because if they see you, they think it's wrong, then that will cause them to stumble. When you are in an idol's temple, what in the world would a Christian be doing in an idol's temple anyway, Paul? Make sure you don't have anybody around you who thinks that it's wrong to eat meat sacrificed to idols. Now, compare that with Revelation chapter 2, the words in red, the teaching of Jesus, 0 tolerance to eating meat sacrificed to idols. Jesus made it very clear. Those who eat meat sacrificed to idols are condemned, rightfully so.
He's saying you're not wrong for that. What you're wrong for is that some shall not the conscience of him which is weak be emboldened to eat those things which are offered to idols. The condemnation is somebody seeing you do that.
So if someone sees you do it, it's wrong. But if no one sees you do it, it's okay. This is what Paul is teaching. This is what the Christian Testament is teaching. Deacon Genesis, they're slowly waking up. Slowly waking up. Slowly waking up. Deacon Genesis, Israelites, Yahushua Israelites, rebuke Paul for teaching you can eat food sacrificed to idols. Oh man. Starting to wake up. And this is the same guy I debated. They're starting to wake up.
Thing offered unto an idol, and their conscience being weak is defiled. They're like, man, I ate this food sacrificed to an idol, I committed sin. And guess what? Their conscience is not defiled. Their conscience is correct, that they committed a sin against God. You understand? But meat commendeth us not to God. This is the problem. For neither if we eat are we the better, neither if we eat not are we the worse. So now he's saying, contextually, this is meat to idols, not pork and all of that. But he's saying if you eat food sacrificed to idols, that doesn't make you any better. It doesn't bring you closer to God. And if you don't eat food sacrificed to idols, it doesn't make you any worse. It doesn't make you further from God. Here's the problem. Yes, it does, because you're doing something that God told you not to do. How can you say, if God says, don't eat food sacrificed to idols, and you eat food sacrificed to idols, why would you say that doing that doesn't bring you closer to God or removes you further from God? It does, because you disobeyed his commandment. Let's keep going. But take heed lest by any means this liberty of yours, and it said you have the liberty to eat food sacrificed to idols, even though the disciples told him in Acts 15 and Acts 21 that they can't do it. He says, this liberty of yours becomes a stumbling block to them that are weak. That's the only problem. The people are seeing you do it. Not that Christ told you not to do it and you're going against that. The apostles told you not to do it and you're going to that. Moreover, the Father told you not to do it in the Torah and prophets and you're going against that.
Israelite teacher, priest, Israelite teacher, Israelite priest, believer in the Christian Testament is rebuking Paul for teaching people they can eat food sacrificed to idols. The Most High is slowly waking these brothers up. They're slowly seeing it. I've been telling these people that for so long. A couple months ago, I was on Clubhouse arguing and debating with an Israelite Christian that Paul was teaching people to eat food sacrificed to idols, which is against the law of God. So a couple months later, we have an Israelite teacher, a Yahushai Israelite teacher, rebuking Paul for teaching people to break the law of God. All praise to the Most High.